Hey everyone, we are here live to talk about Spark. We are officially launching today. I'm so excited. We announced this initiative back at Fuse a couple of months ago. Since then, we've added a third vertical. So we've got a lot going on, a lot of great stuff, some great partners. And we are talking today with some broker owners who did not get to use Spark because it wasn't quite available yet when they got started, but really talking about why Spark is such an important initiative, why we need to be thinking about bringing diverse perspectives and people from different backgrounds into the mortgage industry, and really what that means at the end of the day for brokers to truly be better and better serve consumers. So we are here today with Tyler Hodgson. He's a broker owner from NXT Mortgage down in Dallas, just right around the corner from me, actually. We also have DC Terry. He's a broker owner from Mr. Mortgage, and Tashara Turpin, who is the broker owner from Infinity Home Loans Group. Everyone, welcome. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. We're really excited to talk about Spark.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. DC, why don't we start with you a little bit? We've talked a lot, and I think the financial services industries in general, but definitely the mortgage industry doesn't really have people who are reflective of different backgrounds, different communities. You tend to see a lot of the same face, the same type of person everywhere you turn. Why is something like this important to you, and why do you think it really matters that we're representing home buyers as a collective group and not just one single type of person?
Well, most people ask me these questions, and I just I'm going to be candid. So I'm hoping
Absolutely.
that if you're going to really impact the community, it's always good to have people that actually, fit in that community to be a part of what you're doing. And so that's why I would say it's very important, why this is so important.
And can you just give some examples on how you've been able to really embed yourself? You do a lot with your local community. You're out there and very active all the time. How have you really been able to make an impact on your local area, and for the home buyers and homeowners who are there?
Well, my situation is a little unique. I've been in the mortgage industry for the last 19 years, but I've also been in ministry for over 20 years. And so I'm just a part of the community, embedded in the community, and being able to actually speak to individuals about life and move over into that section of their life is really how I've been able to make an impact. Because when you really think about it, purchasing a home, it's more than just a dream. It's actually a part of everyday life. You have to have somewhere to live. But most times that's an area that so many people don't know a whole lot about. And because they don't know a whole lot about it, they're afraid of it. They stay away from it. And that's kind of what I try to do, is just step into that zone and begin to speak to it that way.
Yeah, a lot of it's access to someone who has a similar understanding of life, right? And that can be from so many different variables in a person, their background, how they grew up, how they look, where they're
Yes.
from, all of those things play a factor. Tashara, I've told this story a couple of times now, but when I bought my house, about 4 years ago, I was 26. I was a single woman buying a house on my own, and my loan officer just could not believe it. I had an older gentleman who was helping me out, who was very nice, but he just could not understand why my dad wasn't co-signing on it, or my fiance, or my husband, or why there wasn't somebody else. Can you talk a little bit about your background and how you got started in mortgage, and how you've been able to help communities that are a little bit more like you?
Absolutely. So my story is very similar to yours. I was 23 years old. I had two small kids under 2, and my dream was to be able to provide a home for them. And kind of the same situation as you, I sat down in front of a few loan officers, and I was really taken aback because nobody really wanted to spend the time and sit down and tell me what I needed to do, whether I was ready at that point or not. They wouldn't give me the time of day. And so honestly, that's how I got into mortgage, because I became obsessed with it. I was determined. That was my goal. I was going to buy a home. I'm a single mom. I don't care. I'm buying it. I'm getting it. So I researched everything I can get my hands on. And the first brokerage I ever was hired me on as a processor. So I started as a processor. But I mean, I was just so hungry for the knowledge because somebody told me, no, I can't, because I was a single mother. And that changed the game for me, honestly. So that's how I got into mortgage. Same situation as you.
And you do a lot with women in your community. You're very active in our WMN group. Why is that so important to have other women that are in not just support roles within the industry, but leadership positions, and being out there as the owner, as the person who's making the decision? I obviously started as a processor, but working your way up. Why is it so important that we have more women in those types of roles for you?
It's like DC Terry said, when more women are buying houses on their own now. Before, it was always a stigma that you had to be married in order, for you to be able to, provide for your family and buy a home. But these days, I mean, a lot of my clientele are single women just like myself who just need a chance, an opportunity, or some wisdom guidance to get their foot in the door, and they'll take off on their own. So I think it's really important that other women see people like myself and you and everybody else who is in our women's network group, and know that if we can do it and we're here to help them, I feel like they're not as intimidated to work with people like us. So yeah. I think that's why it's important that we have more women who are leading the community.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I think it's a similar conversation that we're having across the board, right? Both with DC, with Tachara, and then Tyler, with you as well. When people from a certain community feel like the person who they're talking to understands, they're more likely to take that step forward, even if they're unsure. And that's really the most important part. There's so many communities out there that are actually really well set up to be homeowners, that can be setting up their families for long-term success and financial stability, and they just don't know where to start. And it can be awkward and uncomfortable to talk about money and finances and planning. And if you don't know anything about it and you didn't grow up in an area that encouraged it, it can be intimidating and you shy away from it. Tyler, you're super involved with the vetted VA community, with the veteran community in general, along with your local community. You do a ton of stuff in the Dallas area as well to give back. But I think this is something that is even more critical when it comes to veterans. When we talk about a class and a community of people that often are fed, it's not that they don't have access to information, it's just they're fed the wrong information a lot of the time, because they don't have people who understand what a military lifestyle is like, and whether you're active duty or you're a vet and you're out of the community, using VA benefits the right way. So can you talk a little bit about why it's important to have more military members, whether they're active duty spouses, active duty deployed, veterans that have come out of the military, that are involved in the mortgage space?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Obviously, VA loans are their own loan classification type. You've got conventional, FHA, USDA, VA, and that's a large portion of a lot of our business, even those who aren't veterans. So the things that Vetted VA does, shout out to Chris and Nathan and Sam and all them who are very active in there. They're trying to educate veterans and provide that place where veterans can get that good information. And so, a program like Spark is a great opportunity for veterans to jump into this space and have more veteran representation, so that they can be represented more fairly in the market. And, with everyone who's involved in the Spark program. And so, just doing my continuing education a little while ago. So if you haven't done your continuing education yet, do it. They're going to still talk about redlining, and these big banks are still getting hit with fines for redlining and, discrimination practices and things like that. So, even if it's something you're not aware of, it can be a thing, because, you're going to relate more closely to those who are similar to you. And at NXT Mortgage, our team, I try to tell people, market to your niche. We have a very diverse team. And so you're just going to connect better with people who are similar to you. And so, a program like this is just very good to provide that opportunity to, like you said, diversify the leadership within the broker community. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know that are watching, we have a couple of different things that we're launching with Spark. So I'll just give you a little bit of background in case you're not aware of all of the opportunities that exist. So we've got our 3 different verticals that we're really trying to help support right now. That's our minorities in mortgage, military in mortgage, and then women in mortgage. So that's really where we're trying to bring more people in from different backgrounds that are just a little bit more diverse than what we're used to seeing. You know, the average loan officer that's out there is a late 40s, early 50s white man, and that there is nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of benefits that come along with bringing more people into the conversation. We're not trying to push anybody out. We're just trying to bring more people in and make sure that every consumer feels like they have somebody that they can talk to that is truly going to get where they're coming from, why they're asking certain questions, why they have certain concerns, and help guide them through what is ultimately one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make in your life in buying a house. It's not something that you do every year. It's something that you do maybe a couple of times a year or a couple of times in your lifetime. So it takes somebody who really understands where you're coming from and why you're asking the things that you're asking to make sure that you feel comfortable. Within those three verticals, we also have two different programs running. So we have an opportunity for current mortgage professionals, whether you're a processor or a loan officer, whether you're in retail or in another channel, to start your own brokerage. So we've got a grant program that we're launching that will help you get off the ground. There's monetary funding that comes along with that. There's also a leadership academy that we're launching, a mentorship program to help make sure that you are aligned with other people who are already in the industry, who got started, who did it on their own, who can give a little bit of guidance and feedback on what pitfalls to avoid and how to navigate everything that goes along with running your own shop. And then we also have a training program that we're launching that for me is the one that I'm really excited about personally, where we are training people and giving people scholarships to different training programs that have never worked in the mortgage industry before. And I think that is such a huge opportunity for us to truly bring fresh faces in. You don't have to have a mortgage background. You don't have to have a financial background. It really is, you know, Tashar, kind of to your point where you got started, right, as a processor. So we're putting processing training together, putting loan originator training together. We're even working with some of our lender partners specifically on the VA side, because we hear there's a lot of friction when it comes to VA loans with underwriting teams who maybe aren't as familiar with that specific loan classification. So we're working to help actually source some people that can go join some of our lender partners as part of their junior underwriting programs, so that we've got more people embedded in the entire channel, from loan officer assistant or admin assistant at a brokerage all the way through to an underwriting program at a lender, that can really make sure all of these communities that we're talking about are represented at every level and within every aspect of the community. So Tashar, I would love to hear from you a little bit. What would a program like Spark have been able to do, or how would it have been able to support you when you were getting started? And why are you so excited to see more women coming into the space through a program like this?
Well, it's always been a dream of mine to have a program like this to help other women get into the mortgage industry, because as a single mother myself, the mortgage industry has really allowed me to have quality time with my kids. I've been able to, do field trips and be in school and be involved and help out in my community and run a lot of fundraisers that we have here in the desert. And I mean, honestly, I couldn't have done it working at an 8-to-5 job. I mean, I tried the banking thing for a little bit, and that's actually what prompted me to start my own shop. I couldn't deal with the 8-to-5 and never being able to, do things with my kids. And, starting my own shop just changed my whole entire life and my family's as well. And I mean, if I would have had this program back then, I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, a lot. Cost me a lot of time and a lot of money and, my sanity as well. But, I'm really excited for other people who are going to be able to take advantage of this program, and I hope to be a part of it.
And I think that's such a huge thing that people don't realize about the mortgage industry, because it's something that a lot of people are unfamiliar with. You don't really, I mean, I know I didn't go to college thinking I was going to join mortgage. 5 years ago, I didn't think I was going to be in mortgage. So it's an industry that not a ton of people are aware of, unless you know someone who knows someone who's been in the industry, or you have some sort of connection to it. And one of the biggest benefits is the fact that you usually do have a slightly more flexible schedule, right? It's not a rigid 8-to-5 or 9-to-6 type of environment. There are going to be times where you're answering questions later in the evening, but that also means that you can stop and be engaged in community events that happen during the day that you would normally have to take time off for. DC, how has that been impactful for you? You've been in the industry for quite some time now, but you're also very active with your community. Why is mortgage something that's really good for people who don't know as much about it to get into?
Well, other than the fact that it's a great living.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it.
It really is. And you can be creative here. And I would say for me, what I love about it is, and I'm gonna piggyback on Tashara, is we have 6 children. And so having 6 children, and one of our children was diagnosed with Down syndrome. So we're very active with all of our children, whatever is going on with them, whatever is happening in school. And you have to be able to afford to do those things. You need more than just time off. You need to be able to afford, because you can take a leave of absence and still you're not getting paid. And that adds more stress to the family. So this is important because, number one, it takes drive, and there are many people who have the drive to do it. They just don't have the knowledge. So there are people that I meet and have seen throughout the years that I know would be great in this. They just have no clue that they can be successful at it.
Yep. Completely agree. And that is what's so important to us about this training program specifically, is there are so many people out there that are hardworking. I mean, I say this with the greatest compliment. I've met so many hustlers in my life that are, they're struggling to make ends meet, but not for a lack of effort. It's just because there's a lack of access to a career path that could be much more beneficial for them long term. Tyler, I was talking with, you mentioned Chris and Nate earlier. I was chatting with them last week, and one of the things that really resonates to me about the military community in particular is, there are a lot of regimens, but there's a lot of requirement to be very detail oriented in that space. And there's a specific expectation on performance that I feel like is so perfect to bring into the mortgage industry. There are so many details that you need to make sure, T's that are crossed, I's that are dotted before you can move things forward. How do you feel about getting more military members or veterans into the community, and why do you think that's a good fit for them?
I would love to just build a whole squad or battalion of Marines to be brokers. It would make AIME events so much more fun. But I think that military, like you said, teaches a lot of that detail orientation, organization, those leadership skills. So I think that veterans are very well equipped to be leaders and in their communities, because it's very much a service industry, and so veterans just kind of have that natural service drive, which is why we all raise our right hand and swear the oath. So I think that's huge for veterans to be able to come in and be a part of the mortgage industry and become broker owners and leaders. To kind of piggyback earlier off of the question you asked Tashara about how it could have helped me starting my brokerage. So I was a loan officer for another company, and when I left that company to start NXT Mortgage, I actually worked another full-time accounting job. So my degree, I went to college for accounting, and I worked full-time accounting job while trying to start my loan business on the side and get loans in the door and start the company and all the admin and compliance type stuff that comes along with that. So, a program like Spark that would have, provided the grant funding and the training and mentorship could have been huge to kind of help with that transition, because it was like well over a year that I was working the full-time job and doing my business on the side. And I think a lot of people do that when they come in this industry. Outside of another industry, you kind of have to do 2 things at once and sort of build it. So I think that's huge. And, I didn't have a mentor in the industry until I joined a coaching program in 2018. And then obviously Brokers Are Better and AIME started popping up around that time as well. So up until 2018, I was kind of just on my own trying to figure it out. So it would have been great to have something like this back then.
And I think that's a story that we hear from a lot of people. The last couple of years, we've seen this community come together and grow and really establish itself as a place for everyone to engage with each other, ask questions, try and seek guidance, help, give advice, all of those things. But it really didn't exist previously. And Spark for us is just it's an addition to that. We want Spark to be a catalyst to bring more people into the community and really help it grow, and bring more perspectives in, and make sure that when questions are being asked, that they're being answered, and advice is being given by people who have different levels of experience, come from different backgrounds, work with different types of consumers and borrowers. I think it's just so important to make sure that, I've said this before, my team is going to laugh when I say this again, because I feel like I've said this so many times at this point talking about Spark, but it's just so important to make sure that the leaders and the people who are engaging with home buyers and homeowners are reflective of the communities that they're serving. And that is just, it really changes the conversation. It opens up opportunities for consumers that maybe didn't think that this was an option for them before, or maybe aren't in the best loan right now and need somebody to explain to them why there are better options for them, or why they can be using their home to build wealth and value for their family and their kids and their kids' kids, and all the things that get passed down, because those are conversations that don't happen in every community. And I think sometimes we take advantage of that. We lose sight of it, right? Or we think about, where we are right now and all the success that this industry is having, but there are a lot of communities that don't have access to that. And this is such a great way to bring that all to the forefront and make sure there's more people out there having more conversations about how owning a home can be really great for you over the course of your life. So we have a couple of minutes left. I'll get off my soapbox and let you guys talk, but I would love to hear from each of y'all just one of the things or a couple of the things that you're really excited to see Spark do or bring, or the kind of change that you think this is going to help provide. So Tashara, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so I think what I'm most excited for is to see other women have the opportunity to grow and be able to support their family the same way as if they were, if they had that second income. Because that's what it was for me. I was able to give my kids a completely different lifestyle. And I'm just really excited to see other women being empowered and doing the same thing.
I am as well. That is such a key component for me. I think my mentors and leaders have never been other women in the industry. I didn't have access to them. I didn't see them in leadership roles. Really being able to work with more women. We say it's not about taking the only chair at the table. It's about adding more chairs to the table, right? And bringing more people in, right? You're not trying to fight for one spot. We want to make sure there's 4 or 5 or 6 instead. Tyler, what about you? What are you excited to see from Spark?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see more, people jumping into the industry and more diverse group and really become broker owners. But like I mentioned before, sort of fast tracking that success path with mentorship and training and grants to help with that. I think that's going to be huge, because I just remember that first year or two just kind of struggling around. And so I'm excited to see people be able to get the help they need early on, because that has such an impact in the long term. So, yeah.
That's setting people up for success at the very beginning, right? And making sure you're not just funding, right, but prepared with the access to information and knowledge and training and mentorship and guidance. Those things are almost just as important as the money.
And as an industry, it'll make us all stronger and better having, well-trained trained broker owners, not just people who just got their license and said, okay, I'm a broker owner now, and they're, running companies, incorrectly or whatever. So to have a higher standard within the community will be awesome.
We talk all the time about why brokers are better options for consumers. And I think this is a perfect example of that, making sure that everyone who's coming in is well-trained and well-equipped to be successful and to better serve consumers, because that's the ultimate goal. DC, what about you? What are you excited to see from Spark and the impact it can make on communities?
Well, there are a few things for me. There are so many people who I do loans for that a lot of people wouldn't even give the time of the day, and to see what Spark is doing, like with Tashara, what she spoke about in the beginning with her, why she got started in the industry, having so many individuals who've walked this walk and know, what it feels like to be in a particular position to now be in another position to be able to help others, and to have the funding, the training, and everything behind you that I didn't have when I first came into the industry, and most people didn't have, to have that behind them so that they can avoid a lot of the pitfalls. It's amazing. You know, it's invaluable. And so that alone, I'm very, very excited about that, because it takes to really, if you plan on serving the underserved market, you need to have more than knowledge. You need to care. Yeah. And if not care, at least be good enough to act like you care. you really, it matters in this industry that you're transparent and that you can talk with people about everyday life and their situations and let them know, hey, listen, I know how you feel. I was right where you are. And to have more people there that wouldn't be there without the funding, that's amazing. Another part for me is when I've gone to the different conventions around or conferences, I've seen those that look like me there. And I'm just going to speak more so about since Tashara is more so representing the women, African American males, that I've seen, a few there. And a lot of amongst that few, the majority were working for someone else, had no clue of what to do, not the funds to actually launch out on their own. Not a lot of us are actually owners. And so to have this particular program and not just have the money behind you, but again, the mentorship, the training, and all the things that I didn't have, that's what excites me.
I can't wait to see all of the people that apply to the program, but more so all of the people who have raised their hand to be mentors. We've seen such a fantastic outpouring of AIME members and BAB community members that have reached out and said, if there's a mentorship program or if I can help train or guide or give feedback, let me know. I want to be involved. So just seeing that and seeing how the community, how our AIME community is embracing, bringing more people in. It's not a fear of competition. It's an embracement of more perspectives and more people. And we all know that is ultimately what's going to be best for consumers, is having all of these different backgrounds represented and shown how they can also be business owners and leaders within an industry that hasn't always been representative of those communities is just going to be really cool to see. So I thank you all for joining us. This was amazing. I'm so excited for this to finally get launched. You can apply today officially. It's open. All the applications are now live, so you can go in, submit an application. Any of the 3 verticals that we have, either of the programs that we're offering. So there's 6 options across the board, depending on what you're interested in. You can apply to more than one if you want to. Thank you all so much. We hope you guys will also be mentors. I'm counting on all 3 of y'all to be involved with the program as we take it live in the spring. But if anybody who's watching has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. You can always message the AIME team as well, or email spark@aimegroup.com. You can now also visit our brand new website, aimespark.com, which is very exciting, to find all the information you need, all the application requirements. It's all there. So thank y'all again. We will see you soon, and everyone else will see your applications.
Thank you.
Thank you.